So I came across a very interesting article. It's from our Gleaner, and it's about someone saying that buggery should not be legalized. For those who are not in Jamaica, this means sodomy. This person made a lot of religious references in his argument, that this is not God's design and God didn't say this, and no one has a right to change God's law, and so on, right? So his all of his arguments are based on Bible, scripture, religion, and people often use this and characterize that the only way people are anti-alphabet is if they are religious. Do you need to be religious to be against alphabet? Well, quite evidently no, because I'm not particularly religious and I am against alphabet. Now, why am I against alphabet in that case? Well, my criteria as to whether or not I should be for something, particularly when it comes to behavior, is to look at the outcome and see if the outcome of normalizing or mass adoption of that behavior is beneficial or detrimental. If the outcome is beneficial, then I support the normalization of that behavior. If it is detrimental, then I reject it. Simple as that. To the best of my knowledge, humans do not reproduce via mitosis or binary fission. Therefore, if alphabet was to be the norm, because people are now claiming that it's normal, one of the definitions of normal, or one of the criteria of normal, is it is typical, expected, the majority. So if alphabet was in fact the norm, given that we do not bud like yeast, do binary fission like some single-cell organism, the human race would simply be extinct. The other non-religious reason deals particularly with a disease that is prevalent in that alphabet community, HIV/AIDS. Now, we all agree that HIV/AIDS is bad, right? Nobody wants to get that, right? You don't want your family members or friends to get that, right? Good. This also means that you would dissuade others and yourself from engaging in behavior that has an increased likelihood of you contracting that disease. Make sense so far? Everybody on the same page? Good. Now, according to the CDC, because don't forget that we all should trust the science, alphabet intercourse increases your chances of contracting HIV by not 10%, not 20, not 25, not 50%, not 100%, not 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, 18 times regular normal intercourse. 18 times. Oh, I have great difficulty understanding how we can agree that HIV is bad, agree that we shouldn't promote behavior that has an increased chance of contracting HIV, but at the same time you are supporting a behavior that has an increased chance of contracting HIV. You are literally doing the exact opposite. Now, one very disingenuous claim that I see people who support this like to use is, what does it bother you? As a matter of fact, Neil deGrasse Tyson actually used that narrative when he was trying to say that a human can be 80% female and 20% male. He said, what business is it of yours? But the person doesn't know what he is, and so on. There are two things wrong with that argument, or attempt at argument. One, are you sure you want to go down that route? Apathy. Because you don't want apathy. Because when people are apathetic towards your marginalized group, you call them phobic. So, for example, let us say that a bunch of funny man, let's say that there's a funny man club in Jamaica, and people run up and shoot it up, kill off a bunch of funny man, specifically because of that. And I were to say, well, what business is it of mine? I'm not funny. None of my family members are funny. I don't know none of my friends are funny. This has nothing to do with me. You will say, oh, how cruel. So you don't really want apathy, and you don't really want to stand on the notion that if it doesn't affect you, then you shouldn't care. Secondly, you yourself don't live by that rule, because technically speaking, it does not affect you. What business is it of yours what these two persons can and cannot do? It doesn't, unless you are engaging in that behavior, it doesn't affect you one way or the other. It doesn't affect you anymore than it affects me, you know. Are you the only one who is allowed to have an opinion on that topic? And then there's another talking point that they like to bring up: consent. That what consenting adults do is of no concern to you. But here's the problem: that is a legal argument, not a moral argument. Now, I understand the leftists have great difficulty in definitions and separating things. They conflate everything. This is why they think male and female can be the same, or you can flow from one to the other, because they don't understand the distinctions between things. But a legal argument is not the same as a moral argument. In an ideal world, it would be. Your laws should reflect your morals, but that's not always the case. What if the criteria that law was just dropped, so there's no more either consent? What argument would you now have to be against, say, kiddie ticklers? You can't use consent anymore because that is no longer an argument. This is a problem here. And here's how they are also very dishonest with the legal argument. They will invoke legality when it comes to consent laws between two funny men. But at the same time, when the laws are not in their favor, they will change the laws. So when the laws are in their favor, they will want you to abide by it and for you to not change it. But then when the laws are not in their favor, they will then change it and then have you abide by the laws that they change. Because technically, up until a few years ago, you could simply say, look, it's against the law. So it's rich that the people who change the laws until it suits them are the ones invoking the laws to say that, well, consenting adults can do whatever they want. Now, lastly, and this one is more specific to Jamaica, because America is a godless country, I get that. But Jamaica, we still cosplay as being religious. Now here's the problem with this. If you want to claim that you are religious, and this is the same issue I have with the conservatives. Many conservatives in the US, you claim to be religious, but at the same time, you come to this issue that your religion clearly says is not okay, you become secular. So you pick and choose what aspects of the religion that you like to follow. You can't claim to believe in God, claim to be Christian, claim to follow all the doctrines, but yet when you come to this particular one, you yield to secular forces. And as a matter of fact, you deem yourself righteous when you go against your own religion, while claiming that you are a believer of that religion. That makes no sense. For a godless country, fine, because you have no religion to fall back on. So it's simply whatever the consensus is of the masses at the time that becomes your law. I get that. But if you are based in some kind of religion, then that should be unchanging. That's literally why it's called tradition or conservative. You're conserving your principles. Anyway, I just saw this article, and that these are things that I've been talking about before, but in person, but never on a YouTube video. So I decided to just actually put my thoughts in video form. So let me know in the comments if you think that all anti-alphabet sentiment needs to have a basis in religion, or can someone completely abandon religion, ignore it, and still be anti-alphabet? I'm not asking if you think anti-alphabet is right or wrong, just asking if you think religion needs to play a part in being anti-alphabet.